Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 568, recorded live on Saturday, August 10th. I'm your host, Patrick. With me this week, we have returning to the show, Strimtom.
Hey Pat, thanks for having me.
Yeah, this should be a lot of fun. Welcome back. But we've tried to connect a couple times, and it's just never really worked out for the last couple months, I feel like. So this is great.
Yeah, I'm really glad this actually worked out because I want to get back on the show, and you've been inviting me so often I've been too hard to reach. And this is a really, really huge show. So this is the perfect
Yes,
time.
this is going to be crazy. Before we get into that, let's talk about the screenshot for this week. Everina encounters butterflies and wishes everyone a great summer in the 427th screenshot of the week. Thanks, Everina, for sending in this week's screenshot. Yeah, very beautiful screenshot. We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can catch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, or from our website, DDOCast.com. DDOcast is hosted by Cyber Ears, the awesome podcast hosting network, and shows are usually available within a few days of recording. The next show will probably be next weekend, and you can stay updated by following us on our social media pages or our website, DDOcast.com. On the podcast this week, so we didn't have a show last week, so we've got some extra stuff to talk about. Of course, just the way SSG plans things, whenever I take a weekend off and don't do a show, they drop a whole bunch of news, like right in that same time frame. So we've got a lot of news to talk about this week. We did a kind of an update 43 preview deep dive, and so after the news and the news section, you'll get the XP changes portion of that, where we took a really deep dive into that. That's going to feel a little weird because we're going to talk about the updated XP changes before you get there. So that'll be kind of funny. But I think that I was debating on whether or not to like splice it in before, like in the middle, but it's just going to be kind of a pain to work around. And I think a lot of our criticisms will actually be allayed a little bit. And I think kind of in general, a lot of the criticisms about the XP changes will be kind of smoothed over a little bit. So you have a little bit of perspective on that when we start talking about that in our recorded portion. But there's a whole bunch of other stuff. So shall we start with the game news? Metric ton of it. All right. So this is in no particular order. So again, this is 2 weeks worth of game news, including what was announced during Gencon. So this is going to be organized more by topic than anything else, not necessarily time-wise. And hopefully we don't. We might have a few things kind of come back and change after a later thing. But anyways, so the first thing, Coco Majoba wrote out. People were asking about, hey, when is what dropping? So he wrote out that this is. They haven't put out any specific dates, and for the most part, they still haven't put out any specific dates, with one exception, which. Spoiler alert, the Hardcore League their press release has stated August 16th. That's kind of what they said. So when he posted this, he said, this week, Update 42, Patch 3, Masterminds of Sharding Raid 2. That was Project Nemesis. That came out on July 31st, which we'll talk about in a minute. Mid to late August. Update 42.4. Interesting here. The Epic Destiny Pass, Reaper Revamp, XP Pass, Pale Master Pass, and more. You'll note that our title for the show and what we were talking about was Update 43 Preview. So it turns out the big things from that preview, other than the content, are coming before that preview, before that update. Cool. Mid to late August. We're kind of middle-ish August. My sense is that they're going to release that patch either before or in conjunction with the Hardcore League.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they just kind of comboed it together.
Well, why would you release this hardcore league? Again, we'll talk about this later if you have no idea what we're talking about and haven't been paying attention to the forums or whatever. We'll talk about this more later. But why would you release this hardcore league and then, 2 days after or a week after, change the rules, essentially, right? That's, that'd be a really weird disconnect.
Absolutely. If it was like, oh, they're doing a patch middle of September and then all the stuff comes out, well, I mean, you have a month to play around and
Yeah.
you get to experience it. But you're right. If it's a week to week thing, that just seems really off.
Well, and especially when you're talking about things like changing how Reaper works, and well, not how it works, but the difficulty level and making major changes there. There are major changes to the XP pass, which we'll kind of get into both again in our topic after you and I talk, or discussion topic, and and some of the stuff that they're updating now. I mean, why would you? It doesn't make any sense to have the old version of those at the beginning of your hardcore league, because that would completely change how people were able to run content, right? So, and Pale Master in there as well. But so those are big changes. That's big news, right? And then late August, early September, which is kind of when I was expecting, update 43 will drop, which will be the new adventure pack and more. Mostly at this point, it's the new adventure pack from the stuff that we know, right? Because all the other stuff was the big other news so that will already be out. So again, this could change, but that's a general gist of what they're looking at timing wise at the moment. Again, there's no dates associated with any of those other than the hardcore league, but and I think I even saw someone in my guild's Discord chat post something that I think was from Steelstar, or at least was a tribute to him. I didn't actually see where it came from. It wasn't on the forums. That said, essentially, we haven't announced when Epic Destiny and XP changes and all that stuff is coming, but Hardcore League we've announced is we're aiming for the 16th. I'll let you read between the lines. So there you go.
I mean, I am actually, I might be frustrated about this because I recently did a live stream where I talked about all of the changes and created 13 character builds that you can play in the Hardcore League coming out later today. And in that video that took hours to edit and everything else, I used the old Destinies because they hadn't said they were updating anything. So half the information might be wrong, but stay tuned.
Well,
it's okay. It was only like 6 hours of work.
I mean, I feel like the general gist of the Destinies, depending how specific you got, the general gist of the Destinies are mostly the same, other than a few. I mean, really, Fate Singer is completely changing. The other ones are mostly just getting tweaked and better, and mostly the mechanics that are being removed are counter based, right? Like charging your Epic Destiny or the spirit counter from Primal Avatar, or the shadow charge counter from Shadow Dancer. Which yay, because I was so terrible at charging those shadow counter things that I could never get that tree to work. I could never leverage that tree. So yeah, yay. But yeah, hopefully it's not too broken. But that's what. So there you go. That's kind of the general schedule that they're looking at. Update 43 patch 3. So Update 43 patch 3 came out July 31st. New raid, Project Nemesis. There's no flagging necessary in order to run the raid. I'm sure that mostly has to do with mechanics of like Baba the Hutt. They released it after the fact. People have already run the content rather than make people run back through the content to reflag, which could or could not break. I don't know. There's just no flagging. It's in the same area as Too Hot to Handle. Have you run it yet?
I have. We've beat it on normal, hard, elite, and Reaper 1, and I gotta say, 10 of 10. It's got amazing mechanics, really fun. It's something that you kind of have to discover and figure it out as you go along, but the pacing feels really good. And my favorite part about it is, as opposed to most raids, which get harder as you get to the end, it actually gets easier the farther you get into it.
Sure, yeah, it does.
And so, if once you figure it out, you can start to beat it, as opposed to play for 45 minutes and then die at the end.
Yeah. I have one major complaint about it. And that's the laser. And more so the targeting of the laser than anything else. Cuz I mean we were running running on Elite the other night, and we had a Bigsby hand. You haven't run the raid, don't worry. This will make no sense to you. We had a Bigsby hand like shining a light up toward the laser was, and I was on the laser, and I had that laser was completely in line with that shaft of light from the Bigsby hand. Like maybe like a pixel or two off, kind of it was right there, man. And that boss died right on that hand at the bottom, and it didn't connect for some reason.
Yeah, they really need to either make it like maybe a little bit wider or do something. But yeah, we noticed that a lot too. That it's
Yeah.
just like you press the button and then
Well, and the
nothing
other
happens.
thing is like when you fire the laser down to give that the aura to different people, like you'll have 5 people on the platform, and like one of them gets the aura, and then the aura goes to like 2 other random people in the raid. Like
Yeah, some of
the
the
only
mechanics.
time I ever get that aura is when I'm not standing on the dot. So like there's some mechanical things that need to be tweaked, I think, and looked at. But
Yeah, either we don't understand or it's just totally random. But
yeah.
either way, it is irritating.
Well, you do have to have somebody on the platform, or it doesn't give it to you. Doesn't get anybody apparently, based on the 2
The
times
only,
we did that. But
yeah, if I was to change one thing about the raid, the only thing that I would change is something about that curse on the higher difficulty. Oh man, I think the mechanic's cool, but going in without 200 curse spots is a bad idea. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that.
I actually do have a nitpick about that too, because like the timer on that is like it says 3 minutes, and it goes off after like 10 seconds.
Yeah,
And I find that really annoying.
it's instantly die if you don't pot in 10 seconds.
I think it's actually I think it's a damage, not a death effect, but it's a lot of
It
damage.
well, it is damage, but on Reaper
Yeah, it
1 it was like 6,000 evil damage. So
was hefty.
I mean, I don't have that much health, but
Yeah, I know. But no, I like the raid. I like one of the things I really like about it is it gives you a lot of tactical options. Because
yeah.
which of the 4 guys do you want to kill first? That's a big
You
choice.
can Yeah, you can like kind of like really balance it based on how
Mhm.
your party is. So
Yep.
if you have one member of your party that's either good at tanking a certain boss or people that can do different skills, and also the one thing I will say about the fact that it picks random people, it means you kind of need to have a varied composition that everyone can do a little bit of everything. So when you go into
Sure.
those elemental rooms, it's not just like, oops, it picked all the clerics, we're dead.
See the other things that have. Oh, I don't think they've fixed the fact that there's no rush shrines in the battery rooms, the elemental rooms yet either.
Not yet. That
So
hotfix has yet to come.
yeah, make sure you don't leave people behind there. There was a hot fix, however. Um, the update corrected a couple bugs with the new raid. And I think they also that was one that they also corrected something with Max. There's some Mac problem, and I don't remember what it was. I didn't write it down. But that should be kind of corrected. But yeah, good raid. I'm sure eventually we'll talk more in detail about it and give a guide to it. We still need to do a guide for 2 Hot to Handle too, which I'm dreading a little bit.
Yeah, that one kicks a lot of people to the curb. So
Yeah,
it's pretty tough. It's a lot. This new raid is not nearly as hard as Too Hot to Handle.
no, it's not. 2 Hot to Handle is probably my least favorite raid that they've done in a long while.
I
And
actually
it's
really
not.
like Too Hot to Handle, but I'm really happy that this raid is a lot less gear dependent. Like you can go in with half the stats that our raid went into it and beat
Yeah.
it if you just know how to do it, and I really like that.
My 2 biggest problems with 2 Hot to Handle are the hitbox on the boss is too small.
Oh my god, please fix that. Holy
It needs to be
moly.
bigger.
It's
And the
insane.
amount of damage the skulls that he shoots does. Those are the 2 big complaints I have. Especially in a world for like they just do too much damage on lower difficulties. Like they're very hard. As far as I know, the only way to avoid them is to have deflect arrows.
Yeah.
So other than that, they're basically not avoidable, and they do a lot of damage. And I passionately dislike in my game things that do high amounts of damage that have little to no way of avoiding them. That is not challenging to me. That is not fun to me. It is annoying.
Are you saying it's not fun to put 6 points in Vistani Knife Fighter for deflect arrows?
No,
On every character build you play,
no, that's
even if it's
stupid.
a
That is
cancer?
bad. If you need to do that, that is bad raid design.
For sure.
Because the whole game is based on this idea that you can have a ton of different. We're gonna have a huge rabbit trail here. It's based on this idea that you can have a ton of different builds and have different archetypes and come and be. And if there's one way of avoiding those things, Oh, and by the way, if you get hit twice, which seems to always happen to me, in 6 seconds, you're still toast.
Oh yeah.
So, I do not like how much damage those things do. Things that you cannot avoid or have a low probability of avoiding should not do large amounts of damage. Period.
I agree.
And the way of avoiding them should not be bring in this one ability kind of a thing. I kind of have the same issue with the amount of fire damages in there and having to bring Fire Sheath in to really make that work. But that's a lot easier to kind of fit in, generally speaking. But I still don't like that either. But
yeah, if there was a way to avoid it,
I think most of that damage is evil damage. I would
It's
rather
all
see a
evil.
lot of that
Yeah.
stuff do ramp up the damage, as opposed to it being like all at once. Like if there was like a debuff that makes you more vulnerable to stuff as it goes on. So if you're not dealing with that, I like the mechanics of the raid of like the cogs coming and things upgrading. That's fine, but the damage numbers are just out of whack for me. That's not things that do high amounts of damage is not interesting and challenging to me. That's not what makes that raid interesting. So, anyways, I'm gonna step off my soapbox. Let's talk about Reaper mode changes. So this is gonna be really awkward because our next show will be part 3 of our preview, which is where we're gonna do a deep dive into Reaper mode. But and this is one of those things that you'll hear us talk about in there. And maybe if I remember, I'll put this in next week's show notes too. Reaper mode changes. So, Severlin wrote in response. One of the notes that they had was each saving throw a monster makes is increased by a randomized number. Severlin said that this patch note example is incorrect, and I apologize for that. There is no change to the randomized formula on live. The only change from live is that creatures on Reaper will have an additional +4 to their saving throws versus spells, and the crowd control reduction was also mentioned in the patch notes. So the way that works is that there is a randomized formula, which I didn't know.
Yeah, the formula to do the quick and dirty is that the amount that it can go up in a saves, every monster when you go into Reaper mode has an increase to all of their saves individually of anywhere from 1 to 3 times the Reaper difficulty. So if
Right.
it's Reaper 1, it's 1 to 3 extra saves on anything that they do. And the change was to make it so that they just get +4 to all spells as well all the time. So if it's against spells, it would be plus 5 to
Right.
7. Where they misspoke and said that it was going to just increase the range. It actually just straight up increases the saves all the time. So it's not the range. It just spells are
It's
not
just
as effective in
straight
Reaper.
+4. When I read
Yeah.
that the first time, I read it that there was no randomized number. I was like, oh, +4. That seems less bad. But
yeah, the idea that apparently monsters can get +30 to their saves in Reaper 10 is a little. I didn't realize it was that big, but some
Yeah.
monsters they don't ever fail their saves. So that's good to know.
It is Reaper mode, and this will be weird since I just kind of said that I like Reaper. Like when you get into like Reaper 10, really like Reaper 5, 6, like the DM is trying to kill you. Like
Oh yeah.
Like there's a little bit. I have less problems with things like doing massive amounts of damage and just like outright killing you. But anyways, you'll hear more about Reaper mode next week when we do deep dive into that. But that's a correction for that note. XP changes. All right. So there's a lot of updates to this. And again, you'll hear our initial thoughts based on the initial preview of that. Some of this stuff will kind of override that. But big picture, I think this is a lot of the things that I saw in kind of a cursory glance of what they really didn't like about these Reaper changes is addressed here. So if you're at this point where like Reaper these XP changes, oh my gosh, I'm gonna quit the game over this, and there's nothing they can do to fix it. Hold on, let's get through this part first. Because the stuff that was kind of brought up and the problems that I saw people having is mostly addressed in here. So Severlin wrote in, it is not our intention to reduce the rate at which characters gain Reaper XP. They intend to boost Reaper XP to make up for the loss of Reaper XP gained from the old Bravery Streak bonus. They are looking at the best way to do that. I have not seen anything that said how they're going to do that, but they're looking at that. Which is good, because that was kind of the number one thing, or one of the things that I saw a lot of people complaining about, is that they were going to get less Reaper XP, which granted, that would be a problem, right? uh,
Oh yeah.
and
Well, I mean,
even whether or not that's a problem, like that was like their stated goals were you should get this roughly the same amount of XP if you're doing the behavior that we want to reinforce. So, which is running different a variety of quests. Which, if you're
yeah,
running for Reaper XP, you're usually doing anyways. So,
yeah, the goal for the changes was overall to make it so that you would want to run different quests all the
right?
time instead of like just farming out the same ones for the best XP by shifting more of it into your bravery bonus, which was a really good idea, but they just kind of messed up on the numbers a bit.
Yes.
So, assuming that if they do decide to just boost the base amount of Reaper XP you get per quest, as they say here, or in some capacity, I mean, I think that would probably be pretty good and solve the Reaper XP problem for sure.
I sure wouldn't mind if they just boosted the base Reaper XP and you just got more on subsequent runs too. Personally, I
Yeah,
wouldn't mind that.
and I think that would probably be the best way to go about it because if you with the changes that they were planning on doing now, Reaper XP, you still get the pretty much the same amount while leveling. But if you're not leveling and you're already level 30, then it's essentially just like a cut of about like 25%, and that was bad.
Yes.
So hopefully they'll fix it.
Two, they've looked at feedback on optional objectives and how they affect Epic reincarnation process. On live, Epic reincarnation doesn't clear out quest flags, so players don't have to reflag for quests. I assume that also involves favor too. There's no reason they need to retain quest flagging for optional objectives, however. So, with the XP changes, they will also reset optional objectives flags, and only those flags when you do an epic reincarnation. This will give characters a fresh set of optional objectives for each epic life while keeping their flagging for quests intact. Great. That was kind of the other big thing. One of the other big things that people were saying, hey, if I epic reincarnate, like this optional XP is not going to be there for me again. To which I don't know. I was kind of on the fence about that. Like I understood what they're saying that you can't reset that. But the idea was to get you to run different quests too. So, like, I felt like that was part of the goal. Maybe not the best decision, but part of the goal.
Yeah,
So,
I think that the optional XP hit was less about like repeating quests and simply more about stopping people from finding ways to prevent the optional XP from changing, which
yes.
is basically the Wizard King farming that people have been
Uh-huh.
doing on every server. So I think they and probably other stuff that we don't even know about. So I think that they wanted to curb that, and then it's so much collateral damage. Epic leveling is you log in, you do Von 3 and some other quests, then you log off for a bit
Which is
for a
what they're
lot of
trying to
people.
address.
Yeah, and the problem is there needs to be adjustments to more quests and epic difficulty to make them. I think that they definitely like undershot on all the XP totals of the quests they're adjusting, but I think that making it so it at least resets when you epic reincarnate is a
The
big step
optionals.
in making that better. Yeah, yeah, the optional XP when you epic reincarnate is a big step in the right direction.
Yeah, and in the grand scheme of things, I think they're reducing like the 4 quests by like 10%. I think for Von 3, that's like 3,000 XP on normal.
Yeah,
It's not a lot. That's not that much difference. So, anyways, let's see. We do not intend players to get full bravery bonus if they are over level. Like on live, if the player is more than 2 levels above the base challenge rate in the dungeon, they will get less bravery bonus. That's not actually true because you don't get any. It's not that you get less; you don't get any.
I mean 0 is less.
Yeah. Uh, so I think there was a there was
Probably just a miscommunication of some
yeah.
kind.
I think this is what they're going to, so that if you are more level, it will be incremented. If you're more than 2 levels above the base challenge rating the quest, you'll get less bravery bonus. So he tried to explain it later. If you're running a level 10 dungeon on Reaper, the modified challenge rating is 12. If your character is level 13 or lower, there is no penalty. At level 14, we give a reduction of 10%. 15 would be minus 25%. 16 would be negative 50%. And so on and so forth. It's still a little weird. Oh, so I think that example is more about the Reaper XP though.
I think that example is that about the Reaper XP?
I
Because
think
that seems like
yeah,
just
I kind of jumped
that's how the
through.
regular XP works right now. If you
So
do it 3 levels up, you don't lose anything. You just lose the bravery, and then at 4 levels, you actually start to have a temp reduction.
so I did skip a paragraph because I was kind of jumping around trying to find some clarification on that, on what he said there, because what he said there doesn't jive with what I've noticed um on stuff, right? So um and they're like they didn't have it fully implemented either. So, but his next paragraph says there seems to be some confusion on Reaper XP overlevel penalties. The XP penalty for characters being overlevel match the way it works on Elite. And then that was kind of the example he went into.
Okay,
There
yeah,
will
that
still
makes more
be
sense.
lockouts at different level ranges, like 6 on Epic and 4 on Heroic, just like it is right now. Um, so which I think is one. I don't remember how much we talked about when we were talking about Reaper changes, which again you'll get with next week's show if you didn't listen to that live. Uh, they're making Reaper harder, but they're also making it easier that you can be higher level and get the same XP that you were getting before. So, and there's a certain few places where 2 levels is a big. Well, in Heroics it's 2 levels, in Epics it's going to be like 4 levels or something like that. Like there's a
Well,
lot easier to run some of these quests, even though they're getting
it,
more difficult. So,
oh yeah, in heroics, it's a huge deal because
yeah.
you got to think, the harbor. All of a sudden, you now have access to things like Soundburst or Scorch or a lot of these bigger
Mm-hmm.
abilities. Like, oh, I'm doing level 4 quests. Well, now I have Fireball, so everything dies instantly. So I think that the over leveling thing is going to make the a lot of the difficulty a little bit lower and a bit more accessible. But some of the Reaper changes are no joke,
Yep.
and I think that they're going to be. I think it's going to be a lot more challenging than it used to be to compensate for that. Um,
Mhm.
so I wouldn't be surprised if while it feels easier in some respects, it still retains a lot of that difficulty.
Which it should. I mean, it's supposed to be hard, so that's kind of what we're looking for.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
Severin also did say that apologizing for the delayed response. Any plans for changes that involve tech require some research before they can comment a definitive plan. So basically, this is complicated stuff. He wanted to make sure that it was good information, so to speak. So, which I
Yeah,
appreciate. He also
I
said he
wouldn't be
would love,
surprised if they were working on this for a long time.
yeah. And this is one of those things that they're probably going to be tweaking the numbers for a while because this is a major change to how the system itself works. So it wouldn't surprise me if they're kind of making a lot of. They might revisit a lot of these numbers. If the numbers that people are able to say like I'm not getting the same XP, then they'll probably make some more changes. Little tweaks to numbers here and there. So, um, like they said, they're not intending to give us less XP unless you're doing one of two things: running Von 3 over and over and over again, or running the same optionals over and over and over again. Those are what they're trying to address. While at the same time making bravery bonus a less of a pain in the butt to manage. For which I
Yeah,
say yay.
no more bravery, Marshall. Thank
Yes.
goodness.
Um, Someone else said, while he would love nothing better than to burn the XP system to the ground and re-implement an easier to understand system, maybe with, I don't know, one way to reward first-time play and one system to penalize playing over level, they're trying to maintain parity so players don't feel we are trying to take away their XP. Which, as we've seen, people don't like that idea. Don't take away their XP. All right, more changes. They got back from Gencon. They made some more announcements about this. The math for XP has been adjusted so the XP matches live because they were not trying to reduce that. The first time bonus for normal XP earned on Reaper difficulty has been increased to 95%, so the total XP is equivalent to what you earn on live. Because their original numbers, you got less XP running on Reaper than you did currently. The first time bonus for normal XP earned on normal difficulty has also been increased to 20%, so the total XP is equivalent to what you earn on live. Yay. Note that on the Reaper difficulty, that's normal XP. This is not fixing the Reaper XP problem that they haven't figured out yet.
I'm assuming that if that's like the first time bonus,
Yes.
that would affect the Reaper XP as well. Because going from 75% to 95% would give you, because first time bonuses affect Reaper XP. Bravery bonus surprisingly doesn't, but first time bonus does.
Sure. Is that what their problem was? Maybe. I don't know. I
They're
mean, he
probably
says
still using
normal.
all
Like he
stuff.
specifically says normal XP. So I don't know. It is. I have never cared enough to go into a deep dive into how the percentages are affecting Reaper XP. All I know is what is I get way more the first time through, and not so much after that. So
Yeah.
let's see. More questions. There's a question about the bravery bonus and higher levels. It was bugged. It was not changed on Lemania, so it was there. Optional XP. So there was a really common thing people were saying is, hey, why don't you just reward optional XP at the end? I think this came from Linabel, but I'm not positive on that.
It did.
Stepping aside from the technical problems this presents, personally don't like this solution for a variety of reasons. From a gameplay perspective, it's much less fun than an instantaneous reward. And in the case of a quest failure or a defeat, it means players still get something, which I agree with. Furthermore, there are a lot of optionals that take place after the quest is completed or are available both before and after the completion condition, which further complicates the mechanics. Yeah, that's a good point. So that's why they're not going in that direction. And personally, I agree with that reasoning. So, there was also some people were saying, hey, if you think repeating quests is not mechanics you want to you don't want us to be repeating quest, hey, Slave Lords is a huge grind with ingredients. And some people were suggesting an unslaughter. Linabel said, as far as feasibility of other suggestions, I'd personally much rather drastically reduce the epic crafting requirements instead of dedicating a lot of R&D time to make an unslaughter. Speaking of which, crafting requirements for Slave Lords have moved from 400 down to 100 and 100 down to 50 as far as unbound and bound materials respectively, and augments from 200 to 100. This change will be an upcoming patch. Yay!
So I'm really excited about this, but
That's like
even this
one
is
run.
I'm like, oh yeah, this is one of the parts where I'm usually a pretty all positive guy when it comes to DDO, but I'm like so bitter about this change because I don't know why this happened 3 years after. And also, the only reason you really wanted to make Slave Lords gear during Ravenloft is because the expansion came with 0 accuracy items. So you're like stuck without any accuracy and you can't do anything. But then Sharn's littered with them. So now it's like, hey, remember this relic Slave Lords? It's here. It's here, guys. Come check it out. Ugh. I'm still gonna craft Slave Lord stuff, but
Yeah, I
bitter.
mean, other than the fact it's like, why did you make it so high in the first place? This is better.
Yeah, I'm still happy about this change, but it's like a shake my
Yeah.
fist kind of happy.
All right. Oh boy, we're not even halfway through our news section so far. This is gonna be a long show. Anyways, so augments, Steel Star, wrote in. So people are saying, hey, can in sentient, when you're talking about sentience, there's a thing you can buy for some platinum. It's really cheap. Just destroy the sentient, piece or the filigree, to clear it and do whatever you need to get it out. Can we get that with augments? This is actually something I've said on the show. Like, let's get one of these.
This would be a great tool.
I know.
This is the number of times I'm like, oh, I'll just feed that to my weapon, but
Nope.
it has an augment in it.
Yep. Steel Star said, this is something we know people would like, but the nature of augments is a lot more complicated, read absolutely much, much worse than sentient filigree. Such an item would be time consuming to create on our end, and would have a negative impact on game performance when used, even if created properly. They've held off so as not to introduce an item we know would tank game performance. They'd like to upgrade the overall augment system someday to not have these problems, but that pass does not currently have a date. My response to that is, why does it not currently have a date? We've been talking about this for 3 years. Do it already.
I mean, sentient stuff is kind of like augments already, in like in essence. And I think that while augments could definitely use a full rework. I mean, if I had to pick, if I'm being totally honest, I would rather they just purge the whole thing, just get rid of augments. Just fundamentally, I think there's a lot of too many flaws with the idea. I mean, I like the
I think it's a great
customization.
idea.
I don't
You
know.
need to fix it. My frustration with this is not that it's an antiquated system and it was designed in a way that has a whole bunch of problems. My problem is that, like, we keep getting, we'd like to upgrade it. We don't have a date to do that yet. Pick a date. Like, what is taking so long?
Even something like a year-long roadmap, like a lot of online companies you see nowadays, goes a long way from just keeping people in the loop as to what's going on.
I
that
mean,
way
they
it's like,
kind of
oh,
do
when are we
that,
planning on doing this?
and
They
they
can be like, oh,
change
2021, you know?
they change a lot of this. And Severin, I think, even in one of his interviews recently at Gencon, kind of talked about one of the reasons why they don't project too far in advance is because they kind of try to react. It lets them react a little bit more quickly to what the players are doing, what the players want, and that kind of a thing. Which is great, fine. We want we want augments to be fixed and updated, for crying out loud. Keep promising it us, just do it. I don't
Don't
know.
worry, you'll get that augment fix someday.
Maybe.
Just 2035, the augment patch.
I mean, that's still before I get light rail in this area, so you know. True story. The latest light rail transit package we passed in Seattle, I think, doesn't complete until like 2042.
Hey, we started the light rail, and they had on track 2017, and there was big things hanging on all the skyscrapers and these big posters and everything. On track 2017. We're getting close to 2020, and that thing is still under construction.
Yeah, that happens. Um. Anyways, we're not here to talk about transit. We're here to talk about DDO. Lemania. Going back to the Lemania preview, there were a couple of other things. That when they previewed Hardcore League, which again we'll talk to in a minute. We're almost there, I promise. But there were some other things that were in that preview. Now, granted, it was harder to test some of these things because the focus was on hardcore mode. But we want to kind of run through these really quick. Pale Master had a whole bunch of stuff fixed. Several Epic Destiny abilities meant to scale with melee and range power now do so. Shrouded Champion Rainbow no longer procs positive damage, and instead occasionally proc Bane damage. It could heal your enemies. Oops.
Did Rain of Arrows get patched out of that? It never did say Rain of Arrows. I didn't test it, but Rain of Arrows heals like I want to say like half of the time.
Good question. My guess would be that it would kind of function similar to Rainbow. Like it probably would use those effects, but I don't know.
I don't know either.
Doesn't say anything about it. Shadow Dancer, Meld into Darkness' tooltip now mentions that it bypasses dodge cap, the normal one, not the new 95% one. Could you just say like
It should just say sets your dodge to 95%.
Yeah, right? Does it just say you get 100% dodge, but doesn't go past the 95% cap? I'm curious what it's actually going to read, right? Shadow Dancer now grants plus 6 range power per core. It was 4. It also removed prerequisites from Cloak of Shadows, improved I don't want to read this whole list. A whole bunch of things. It removed the prerequisites for. Fury Made Placid and Fury Eternal now cost 1 point each. Ascendant Shroud for Lich Form now grants a 5% cost reduction on all spells. Yes, that stacks with everything. It's from an enhancement bonus. The following Druid changes did not make it to the Lemani build in time, but are currently planned for this patch. This change is meant to adjust certain overperforming multi-class wolf splits while keeping overall impact on pure Druid-invested Nature's Warriors wolf builds low. Druid, the combat speed bonus to attack speed in wolf form is now 10%. In winter wolf form is now 20%. Druid Nature's Warrior Swift Hunter now also increases wolf form's combat speed to 15% and winter wolf to 30%. So basically, if you've seen a lot of melee wolves running around, that's because they're really good. They're overperforming, as I said. So this is to address that attack speed thing.
Well, to be more specific, it's not that melee wolves are overperforming, because melee wolves are really strong, but they're not like the strongest thing. There are some splits where essentially you involve barbarian and two-handed weapons, which allows you to attack like you're using a one-hander with the damage profile of a two-hander with the crit multiplier from barbarian, and do some really goofy stuff that probably needs to get reined in a bit. And so this
what it is.
means if you are a person who plays wolf druid, this won't change. But if you're somebody who's playing that particular barbarian split, you're going to lose about 10% of your damage.
Well, I mean, really any wolf split, because the Swift Hunter and Nature's Warrior, that's kind of high up the tree, isn't it? Or is that like
that's a tier 5, yeah.
Yeah, so it's gonna.
I just don't know of any other splits. Are there any other wolf multi-classes?
I mean, I'll say yes, just because I have one. I'm not gonna claim it's great, but I have one. uh, it's not the overperforming build, that's for sure. Yeah. Anyways, so they're trying to rein that in. They do this all the time. Try to rein in overperformance. At a certain point, players create builds that are very effective, and you can only at a certain point you have to nerf those builds instead of buffing everybody else because that would cause more problems. Anyways,
If we buffed everything to that, people don't have never seen power creep like that.
yeah,
If we did that,
it would be kind of funny if they did that. They're not going to, and they shouldn't. That would be terrible. Anyways, all right. So let's talk about. So at Gencon, they did a bunch of interviews. DDO Players News had one. MMO Central had one. I'll link to those two. I think there were a couple more even. So this is stuff that they announced at Gencon. They announced this stuff at their the party that they had. So the two things that came out of that, one is there's a new VIP only server for they're calling it Hardcore League. It's kind of like permadeath, but worse. Actually, I shouldn't say worse. Harder, I should say. That's a better way of saying it. It's not. I don't want to imply that it's bad or worse to play than permadeath. It's permadeath on steroids. That feels like a better way of saying it, I think.
it's I mean, not really. It's just permadeath because when you play permadeath in DDO, you can be like, well, I don't really want to delete it, but in here it's like, no, your character's gone forever.
Oh, well, sort of. We'll get
Sort
to
of.
that.
Yeah.
There's also going to be announced a new class, Alchemist, which is the first, I think, really official announcement. I think it's been mentioned or hinted at on some of the live streams, stuff like that. Anyways, so you want to talk about hardcore or Alchemist first?
I'd like to talk about hardcore first.
All right, let's talk about hardcore first. So this was what they wrote for the preview that happened this last week. Welcome to the Hardcore League preview. This preview will be open until Thursday, which it was. The preview contains all changes from the multi-patch update preview. However, the server has been set up to mimic the Hardcore League experience when it goes live. So they didn't have the test JoJo. They didn't. You couldn't just level up really fast.
Which is weird because they previewed Epic Destiny changes in that same patch. So
yeah,
they I don't know
what
they were thinking.
Well, I mean, they tweaked a few things. Like we talked about those, right? Like they're not that big of things.
They're not that big a deal, but
like
yeah.
I don't think they need to really test those. So Hardcore League is so this will be a separate server. It will be VIP only. So you have to be. It will not be the Lemania server, which it was for the preview, but it will not be for its actual thing. The Hardcore League server is exactly the same as normal live server in all ways, except for the following. I'm gonna say that again because I saw at least 4 or 5 dev responses that could have been answered by understanding this. The Hardcore League server is exactly the same as a normal live server in all ways except for the following. Now, Severlin actually said in one of his interviews the reason for that is they want us to have access to all of our tricks because they think we're pretty impressive with our tricks. So this is intentional. So here's what happens. Only 1 life per character. Character death on the hardcore server during the league will be permanent. It does not matter how you die. Period. It does not matter how you die. Normal play, one-shots, lag, disconnects, earthquakes, power outages, acts of God, ninja attacks in your player area, whatever the reason, character death is permanent during the league. When a character dies on a hardcore server, they enter a nether realm where they exist only as a spirit. They cannot be resurrected by any means. No resurrection shrines, no resurrection spells, no spirit cakes, no Jack-Tipper's blades. Nothing will bring your character back to life. If you're dead, you're dead.
And to clarify that point, when you die, you physically teleport to a new location, which is the realm of the dead, where you cannot do anything or act. Even if you find a way to resurrect yourself, which I managed to do on the server there.
Nice.
Yes, I did. you have a permanent debuff placed on you that prevents you from taking any actions whatsoever, and I could not find a way to get around it after about an hour of testing.
That's some hardcore testing there, buddy.
Hey, I wanted to win this league, man. Got to know how to get back from the dead. You said we got all our tricks. I'm trying to make new tricks.
Mortality, the rewards NPC. At various places in the game world, you can find a new NPC named Mortality. Mortality will grant cosmetic rewards to characters that have passed specific benchmarks. These rewards, once unlocked on a character on the Hardcore League season server, will be available for all characters on that account across all servers. I'm not sure how they're going to deliver that exactly. My guess is it's probably going to be similar to how they put out the expansion ticket things. So
yeah, if we're talking about features that people are requesting, I really want some type of menu or thing that stores all the exclusive stuff that
right.
spawns on our characters. Holy moly!
I mean, at least most of the cosmetics are bound to account. Please make these bound to account when they're coming out. It'd be terrible if they're not. So if you reach a total of 170 or 1,750 favor, you will get an Eyes of Darkness cosmetic. For 5,000 favor, you get a Bloody Footprints cosmetic. 10 Reaper enhancement points is a special cosmetic cloak. 20 is also a special cosmetic cloak. And if you reach character level 20, you will get a Blood Reaper pet. Please note, you must turn this in before you die. Because if you die, you can't turn it in anymore. Tough luck.
Yes,
Not
and
really sure
there
about
were
the hardcore part.
Oh yeah, then there were a lot of questions that I saw from some people, like how does it calculate favor if you reincarnate, and when you reincarnate you go to 0. So
Yep.
if you get halfway to 5,000 or 500 away, don't reincarnate. Go collect that reward.
Uh-huh.
Go do more quests.
I mean, again, it functions exactly the same as those on live, right? When you reincarnate, you lose all your favor. Go back to the first point, right? Leaderboards. Mortality also allows viewing access to view leaderboards for the Hardcore League server. These leaderboards will display the top 100 living characters. Living. If you're dead, you're off the leaderboard.
If you die, you get taken off, so don't die.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point of this server, right? So there's 2 leaderboards. Total favor and Reaper enhancement points. If a character dies, they will be removed from both leaderboards. No characters from other servers. Players are not allowed to transfer characters from other servers to the Hardcore League server. I'm just... Theoretically, if you could, would you want to? That would be bold, right? Like, take a character from live and put it on the server, it dies, and it's dead?
So I did a 1 to 20 run recently where I did 1 to 20 in a day. And I recorded myself on Sorcerer, and I didn't die in the 12 hours it took me to do that. So if you could transfer, I feel like you'd have an amazing advantage.
Yes.
You still have the chance. There's always the chance. But
it's going to be harder, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we'll get to the... But just think about it. You're starting at level 1, so you're not going to have... On a brand new server, you're not going to have twink gear. You're not going to have a big guild ship with all the buffs.
You're not going to have any guild ship.
No.
No resist buffs. So those kobold shamans, they mean business. You got 70 health and no lightning resist? No reflex save?
No epic destinies, no past lives, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, no character. We did that. Level 1 iconic characters. All iconic races will spawn in their usual starting areas, but will then be transported to the beach on Korthos and not given experience to level past 1. You can't get around it that way. Also, no vet status characters. All characters created on accounts with veteran status will spawn on the veteran status airship as usual, and will then be transported to the beach on Korthos and not given experience to level past 1. Everybody starts at level 1. Note though, I'm just gonna throw this out there though. Iconics do have an advantage, because if you survive to level 15, you're gonna get a box with a whole bunch of gear in it. Which
the big
better than anything you got.
Wait, do you get that when you get to 15?
Yeah. I mean, that's when it goes in your inventory.
I would have assumed that they would have disabled it. I don't know. I didn't level to 15 on Lamania.
I think someone said that they got it, but hey, Point number
That'd be
one,
cool.
exactly the same as normal live server, except for the following. Doesn't say that
That's
that doesn't
true.
happen.
That is true. Um,
So,
the big thing about the iconics is that iconics are crazy good in some capacity, like charisma to hit and damage if you're playing as a purple dragon knight, or Sun Elf gets a thing where they get mass death ward, shield of faith, and I think spell resistance at level 1.
mm-hmm.
So there's some crazy stuff you can do with the iconics
Yes,
that
there
are
is.
very good.
Let's see. No VIP is required. You can only get here if you're VIP. Death is announced. World broadcasts are sent when higher level characters die. The exact level the star set is yet to be decided. I would
Yeah,
kind of almost say that instead of that it should just be if you're on the leaderboard.
yeah, I think that they're probably going to go with if somebody's on the ladder and they die, there'll be an announcement, which just makes it so exciting when you see so and so at level 8 has just bit it.
Yep.
Or when you see someone level 30 die and you're like, "Oh, you
Ouch.
hate to see that."
Do you? Do you though? Depends on how much of how much of an evil DM you are, I suppose. Other than those differences, the hardcore league will be identical to a normal live server. Some questions they asked. Cordovan said they're not using the word permadeath due to its meaning in history in DDO. This is similar to permadeath, but they are specifically calling it the hardcore league to avoid stepping on the active PD rules and communities in DDO. Makes sense. Favor will not be additive across lives. There will be a shared account bank in the hardcore league. However, your character is sent to the Netherrealm, they will not be able to access the shared bank on the hardcore league server. However, when the time comes that people can transfer characters off of the hardcore league server for free, you can do that. By the way, we didn't mention that earlier. You do get to take a character and transfer it off of the hardcore league server.
Yeah.
So you can still take that character to one of the other worlds and get that stuff into a shared bank there. Whatever's on the character. Which, by the way, if you're playing with more than one character on the server, anything you have on your character when you die goes into the Netherrealm, and you can't get it back. So consider that. If it was me, I would be spending a lot of time going to the bank and dumping all the platinum I have into that.
Yeah, just bank it up, man.
Uh-huh.
That's such a good idea.
The intention of the Hardcore League is not to offer non-cosmetic items as reward. They don't want people to feel like they need to participate in order to gain statistical benefit on their main servers. Thank you. That would be terrible.
The idea is it's kind of this, to make it so that you don't feel like you should ever need to do one of these weird things to get a bonus to your character. I mean, it's kind of the same way they did with Reaper mode. I mean, oops, it's the ball on that one, but yeah, it's as an optional game mode. I think they're doing a good job of trying to keep it optional.
Yes. See, standard character slot availability still applies, so an available character slot is needed in order to transfer a character to your intended world. There is no limit on the number of created characters, although standard character slot availability applies. Daily dice rolls as normal. There's some tricks for you, I suppose, depending on how good your luck is. And yes, the store is available. It would not surprise me if we don't see Autos boxes on sale until the end of the Hardcore League. Just saying.
Well, so the interesting thing about that is that they didn't. I don't know if it's in here because I leafed through the notes and I probably should have read more diligently. But there is actually a level cap on doing quests that was announced at some point later.
We haven't gotten there yet.
So, yeah,
we'll get there.
Okay.
Yeah. The store is there. Although really, I mean, in the
do you want to spend the points?
In the grand scheme of things, if someone wants to go in there and spend the points, I don't know that I care. Like,
I just think that people that spend the points. Well, it's like when you think about spending points in DDO, I think of it like driving cars. They say that when cars are safer, people drive more recklessly. And I think that someone's going to buy tomes and not really be so worried. And then wham comes that scorching ray from the Mark of Chaos champion, and you take 800 damage in Reaper 1 and you're dead. And I think stuff like that's going to happen
Mm-hmm.
a lot more than people think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, look, people were asking me. First of all, I do not have a really special connection with the devs or anything. Like, I'm casually friendly with a couple of them, and one of them is on my D&D night group. But it's not like I have like this special access to them more than other people, um, but or like know things that other people don't. I'm not on the players' council intentionally, uh, so people ask me like, why should they have the store? I'm like, they're a company. They need to make money. They wouldn't do this if they weren't hoping to at least monetize it in some way, shape, or form. Um, if people want to spend money on a tome, fine. I don't care. I mean, keep in mind, like these characters will exist after the conclusion of this, right? Like you can transfer them to other servers, so it's not like you lose that money. But if you want to pay for it, fine. I don't really care. Of course,
That's
I'm not trying to get on the leaderboard. Like, I don't really care about that. So that's part of where that's coming from. But hey, thanks for keeping the lights on. So
I think there's a little bit of overlap between the vocal minority of people who want to, who are upset that it could upset the balance of the leaderboard, but who likely would not compete in the leaderboard either.
mm-hmm.
So I, I don't know. At the end of the day,
It's
the
one of our
leaderboard
tricks
is
that
your
we can
plaque,
use.
and there's 100 people on that list. So I don't think all 100 are going to be people that bought tomes and other things. It's going to be a time and dedication thing.
And people are gonna die. Like,
People are going to die.
a, is a +5 tome, is a +5 universal tome really gonna keep someone from dying? Maybe.
Maybe
Like,
once, but not enough times.
yeah, it's not. Look, tomes are great, and they give you access to a lot of feats and make builds a little easier to manage and stuff. But like, I feel like we're talking about maybe 5% of survivability factor. Maybe.
Oh yeah.
So
Besides, you get tomes anyway for doing your favor award, so why
yeah.
buy them? Just a waste of money.
XP pots, okay, sure. I understand. When we talk about the Reaper XP leaderboard, sure, but at the same time, like you still gotta survive. Just saying, like that's part of it. You gotta survive. And an XP pot does not make you more survivable. It just helps you get there faster.
Yeah. The people that are going to win the XP leaderboard are the people that are going to be crazy enough to do Reaper 5 to 7s on level 30 and also be consistent enough to not die.
Yeah. All right. So in some of their stuff, they said when you die on the hardcore server, you're done. When your hit points drop into the negative enough, if you fall down, someone can save you and heal you. By the way, you can use a res cake to get up from being in cap, I guess.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
I didn't either. Or I think it's one of those things that I knew and forgot. I'm not sure. But someone was talking about that, and like that's how. And one of the devs said that's how they work, guys. We're not doing anything different here. That's how they work. Just no one thinks to use them that way. So let's see. Is there anything that's already covered? So it's a 90-day cycle. They're doing this for 90 days. They are very intentional here about they want to see how this impacts the community. It may, so this is actually, here's what Severlin said. For now, we're going to see how it affects the community. If it affects the community in a positive way, we're very careful because we have a very passionate community that we love, and we want to make sure that things we do affect them in a positive way. And something like this can have an effect on the community that we want to make sure it's positive before we move forward. We'll have a chance to see how players react to what the rule set was and all of those things before we make any announcements on what to do afterwards. They have no current plans to have the store behave any differently on hardcore leagues. Yeah, we already talked about that. So, they're aware of the idea, and this is one of the complaints I've seen people mention a few times, is this idea that you're going to tank the live server population. I don't think so. Maybe a little bit, like any other thing, but I I have a feeling that a lot of people are, you know, they're gonna go on there. A lot of people I think will get frustrated fairly quickly. Not dying is hard. I'm just gonna say that. Like you gotta change how you play the game.
Yeah, a lot of people are going to run into these stone walls where all of a sudden they're dying and then having to restart.
Mm-hmm.
And your first restart, you'll be like, okay, I got it. That happened. But if you're not committed, that second character death, you might just like quit straight up.
Yeah.
And if you look at other games that are like known for their hardcore, like the Diablo style games, like Diablo 3 or Path of Exile, even Path of Exile, which is like hardcore game, lots of hardcore gamers, people play. The demographics is like 5% of the player base is on the hardcore server,
Yeah.
even though that's what it's known for. So
Sure.
I have a feeling it will split at first, but within probably 30 days, I would imagine most people would shift away.
There are a lot of people that are not gonna want to do this. I feel like there are some people that are gonna be super excited about this and jazz, and I bet we get more people coming back to the game just for this event, and paying for VIP just for this event, which is kind of one of the points. Again, company they're trying to make money, and so, but I think I do really appreciate that they're saying we want to try this. We think it'll be a really positive thing for the community. But before we make any commitments, we want to make sure that's true beyond this 90 days, right? So,
Yeah. I like
um,
the fact that they're taking their time. They're just dipping their toes in the water. So like, what's going on? Does it work? Does it not work? And we'll go from
mhm.
there.
Let's see. Some other notes based on the discussion that Sarah said. On a hardcore server, you will not be able to enter a dungeon if your level is more than 4 levels higher than the base challenge rating, i.e., the challenge rating on normal difficulty. That feature did not make it onto Mania. Uh, so, you can't. So on the hardcore server, if you are more than 4 levels above, you can't run the quest, which means you can't run to get to level 20 and then go run all those low level quests for favor. Um,
Yep. There's always going to be some risk
yep.
associated. Most quests are probably going to be fine. I mean, 4 levels over is like a big gap, but then there's going to be some just fringe, goofy quests like the Delirium quests that have insane traps and other stuff that
I
are
was
going to
thinking
knock a lot
proof
of
in the
people out.
poison.
Proof is in the Poison's another one's pretty long.
If you complete proof is in the poison on this hardcore league server, please take a picture and send it to me because props, that would be impressive. Even at level 8. Let's see. The leaderboards are only for total favor and Reaper XP. There is no competition based on normal XP, only a static prize for reaching level 20. For favor runs, you won't be able to level past the content and then go back for easy favor. If you allow yourself to outlevel dungeons, you won't be able to access them, and that favor will no longer be possible to obtain. It might hurt your chances to be in the top leaderboard totals later on, or hit your totals to get the prizes. For Reaper XP, you'll have to make a determination of how you will accumulate it. Will you rush to the end of the game, or will you kind of take it a little slower? It's a good question. Good luck. Let's see. The way Spirit Cakes work has not been changed for the Hardcore League. They bring you back from unconsciousness on live currently. Whether they should do that by lore is an interesting question. Not one that this was from Coco that he has the answer to. You do need to be alive in order to speak to mortality. Let's see. The rewards for leaderboard status at the end of the season requires that you be alive at the time the season ends. The top 100 winners of the 2 letters will be immortalized in the Hall of Heroes with a plaque featuring the character names. That was covered in the media outlets, but I don't think he didn't think it was actually posted anywhere else. There you go. That's all the stuff they said on it. This is going to be interesting and exciting, I think.
I'm really looking forward to the people that are going to try to like stream and make YouTube videos and stuff. Because when I played Diablo and Path of Exile, when the hardcore comes out, the first day of the season, someone always posts like a compilation video on like Reddit of all the deaths of all the people that stream,
nice.
just one after the other, and it's super entertaining. And I want something like that to happen for DDO, where you watch people lose their minds on camera.
I really want. I am going to try to leverage what little influence I'm going to try to get Jerry to like post how many characters die on this server. Like I really want to know that number.
Oh my god!
Like
post stats. Oh, I
like
want it.
how many characters die total, or like what quests are the most deadly quests? That would be
what's the most lethal
that would
creature?
Be interesting.
Oh yeah,
I would love to see that information. That'd be a lot of fun, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Things to be mindful of on the server, because I died to this. If you jump off of things, be careful at low level. I died in the Hall of Heroes trying to go to the Reincarnation Grove
Oops.
to test something, so that was fun. And also, teleport. It can fail, and you fall from the marketplace, and you will die. So watch
You
out on those tomes.
pro tip: there is a trick. You can do that and not die, even if you fall all the way down.
You cast teleport again.
No, without doing that. If you there's like an invisible little tube essentially. If
Yeah.
you go against the northeast corner, you can get out before you hit the death point.
I did not know that.
If you don't have feather fall, I'm sure the fall will still kill you. But if you float into that northeast corner, you can get out without dying. At least you could last time I checked it. So let's talk about a couple things with this briefly. We kind of already touched on the store, so I don't, unless there's anything else you want to say about the store.
I mean, a lot of people are going back and forth about the store. I don't really have strong opinions. I mean, they're a company, they got to make money, they
Yeah.
got to sell products. And if somebody wants to buy +8 tomes, die, make a new character and buy +8 tomes and die, and make a new character, buy +8 tomes and die, I'm going to be okay with that. So
You are funding you are funding somebody to come in and fix augments. Go for it.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the person who was number 1 on the leaderboard used potions, or at the very least a tome of learning, because of how much of an advantage it does give you on the Reaper XP standing thing. But I also guarantee that person also would likely have the most playtime as well.
Yeah, they're probably true. And again, just like how long does it take you playing to die? I mean, for me, it's not very long, and there's video evidence of this.
And then you just like get home from work, you turn it on, you know, you're playing for doing a couple quests, and you forget about a trap, and wham, game over.
I mean, like, I'm pretty sure people like Samus Grobo die every 5 minutes. Not that I have any actual evidence of this, but like, you're gonna die, right? Like,
oh yeah. I want to know when I'm gonna die first. My first character, I'm planning on using a Heart of Wood, just because I want to play as a scoundrel, so I get the fiddle noises when I cast spells. It's not better. I just think it would be kind of funny, because I'm going to be streaming, and I wonder how annoying it'll get to cast Close Wounds 50 times a second with that fiddle going off.
sure,
But I'm very curious as to when that character's going to eat it.
yeah. I do want to. There was another. So let's talk about the shroud, because this is something that people brought up a lot. Because if you touch the portal, if you go into part 5 of the shroud, you die. You're like, you're gonna turn that off, right? And they're like, no. If you die, you die.
They just said don't do it. They just said don't do it. And so, people are like, no, they'll find a way. And I'm like, all right.
Well, then they're like, people are like, well, you need to close the shroud. Like, well, but then people can't go in and make a cookie, right? Like, you could make shroud cookies if you wanted to. I mean, it's a bold choice. More power to you. I'm also not sure you can close heroic shroud without closing legendary shroud. Why you'd want to run the legendary shroud, I don't know. But more power to you.
I'm really excited for the Reaper XP race is going to be whatever. But the thing I'm really excited for is the favor race, because there's going to be at some point where there's going to be groups of people that have done all the quests, and somebody's going to
die
have
at the same time.
Be too hot to handle.
Oh.
To get the edge. Or someone's going to have to complete like a raid on elite difficulty to get the edge.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting for sure. You know, I think anyone who's playing on this server that makes it, stays alive long enough to get to the shroud, probably knows that they're going to die in the shroud, right? Like,
you hope so.
I don't feel like there's going to be any surprises there. Maybe someone makes a boneheaded move and accidentally clicks the portal instead of recalling out at that point or something. At which point I would say it's your own fault, but I don't know. I do have a couple of tips for those who are listening here. I'm just going to point out the daily dice rolls will function as they do on a live server. And there are free transfers at the end of the event. So say that you are a season pass holder, you could log on to this server every day and roll a gold roll every day. And towards the end of the event, grab all of that stuff onto a character and transfer it off at the end of the event. Or more.
Ooh, I am a season pass holder. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Also, people will be forming guilds, I'm sure. So that's a way to leverage things. I might suggest your guild leader not be a character that someone's actively going to play in quests. Uh, I'm not sure what kind of functionality you might have with your guild if your guild leader's dead in another realm. That could pose problems. Just a suggestion. You may not want to. You may not want to have your guild leader be someone who could die. Just throwing that out there. Make frequent trips to the bank and stash stuff.
Yeah.
So,
A
and
pro
have
tip
fun.
I have for people. Do you have any more? I had one
No, go for
that's
it.
kind of big. So essential to the process of staying alive, and I think that's going to help out a lot of people, is if you get started on your Kingdom crafting early, that's a really good idea. Because you can just deconstruct everything and get a ton of essences and get way more than you in value in essences than you would in platinum.
Sure.
And this is a really cool idea and all. But if that character dies, you spent so much time breaking stuff down. So the other option is you can use the shared bank and then use an alternate
Mm-hmm.
character that won't die.
Yep.
And that would be a great idea.
Yes.
Excessively time consuming. So pick
True.
your battles. Whether it takes longer to re-level that character or it takes longer to transfer all that gear, Kingdom crafting is going to be really good. So
It's true.
don't shy away from collectibles and breaking stuff down.
Mm-hmm. All right. An hour and 10 minutes into the show, let's talk about Alchemist. We're still not out of game news yet. Alchemist. New class. They throw flasks. Wow, I guess I don't have there's not as much information that we got out of them, other than there's gonna be a very spellcaster focused tree. So they're a full spellcaster with a gigantic, incredible spell book full of unique spells. I think they said like 90 unique spells or something like that.
Yeah, entirely new spells.
Yeah, to compound on that, they also cast spells in a very different ways than other DDO class do currently. They have different primers and reactions that can combo their spells in order to increase their potency or increase your defenses. And depending on the situation, alchemists can approach combat in a variety of different interesting ways. They're also going to have access to a whole bunch of very unique crowd control, locking people into solid gold, turning them into frogs, but on a very quick scale. Pillars of salt, all that jazz. They're going to have a variety of very interesting ways to approach any combat scenario. Even as support, they're going to have a ton of unique buffs and ways to help their friends out. Alchemists will be throwing potions as part of their spells, but can wield any other weapon, just like any other character. And they're specifically building them with a lot of synergy with simple weapons, which is something that they get in the books. So they're going to have a lot of ways to boost simple weapons into pretty high effectiveness. Plus, they're also going to be able to use thrown simple weapons very, very well. So poison darts and just darts and throwing daggers are their weapon of choice, especially if they spec into their ranged damage dealing. They're an intelligence-based caster. The three trees are the Bombardier tree, the Vile Chemist tree, and the Apothecary tree. They're about spell DPS, a variety of poisons and debuffs, and the third tree is about support and healing. So there you go. Exciting, cool.
Yeah, I don't want to say too much because I do know all the information. So I'm going to tiptoe around that. But the one thing that I know when this came up, a lot of people were like kind of on the fence about is it's like, oh my gosh, intelligence based spellcaster that throws flasks. Have you heard of anything like that already that exists? It sounds very similar to Artificer, but
They're not as
it's
much of a
not Artificer.
spellcaster, though, right? Like, I mean, they cast spells, but
I don't know, man. That Arcano Technician tree is pretty on fire. I'm a big
it's
fan.
true.
Um, But yeah, that's it's not Artificer. It's very different. It is its own unique thing. I was very skeptical at first, but it's its own unique thing, and I think people are going to be excited when there's more details released about it.
All right. Tito bonus days bring you 5% VIP XP through August 11th. The store stuff for the week through August 15th, you can get 25% off of character banks, select shared banks, inventory space, bags. You can also get a coupon code for long-lasting Supreme Ability Potion ×5 with the coupon code BuffAll. Pay attention to the weekly coupons for the permadeath server or from the hardcore server, because all those like potions of resist acid ×5 that are like, why would I need that? You might actually want them on the hardcore server. Just saying.
Oh yeah, resist potions like literally make or break your character.
Yeah.
When I was testing it out, I went in with a friend and we were just doing Reaper 2s right away because we're pretty dumb. And so what we did was we were like, okay, gotta buy potions. So we had almost no gold. So you're heading up, you're buying all your resist acid, you're buying your resist electric for the
Hmm.
kobolds and stuff. And honestly, like you notice the difference.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It saves your life. So the preparation is that's what it's all about.
Yep. All right. Let's talk about community news. Um, Hopefully this doesn't take too long. We got 2 chronicles to get through, though, so apologies for a longer show. But there's so much fun stuff to talk about. And you guys know us, like we're winded. So, the 344th chronicle. You can join Orion Raid Discord to find out when raids are happening on Orion. So you can check out that thread. Axel discussed Reaper changes, raid changes. He if you listen to his stuff, I'm just gonna say like he had like 20 videos in the last 2 weeks to cover all of this stuff. So he's got a whole bunch of videos you can go check out. We got a shout out for our last episode. Comment: the last dungeon you played in is where you have to host your next dinner party. Where are you and what do you serve?
The dungeon I was last in?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, geez. Well,
It was in
I
Druid's
guess we're
Curse.
yeah.
A salad?
I'm going to Giant Hold Tour.
Oh boy.
So I'm gonna find the biggest set of dragons I can, and we're making up some dragon steaks for the giants.
Tastes like chicken. Let's see. The guild for the week, Legends of Lore, is now openly recruiting members for our guild. They're strictly an adult-only guild of age 21 plus, made up of members from all over the world. Our members are committed to creating top-quality players, a positive team environment, and a strong core team that works towards common goals. Our guild includes a mix of casual players and hardcore members who enjoy leveling, questing, raiding, and Reaper endgame content. They're currently looking for specific classes for a dedicated raid team. If you're interested in learning more, you can check out their website. Let's see. Fan site news. Brighter Days Ahead. BioBreak, Baklagor, Bard Life, Mickey's Delirium, DDOPL, and DDO Wiki Talk all had links. The 345th show. There's a link in here for Draculetta's interview with Severlin, Cordovan, and Linabelle at Gencon. Just check out. You can check out DDO Players News too if you're interested in some of the stuff too, because you can catch their actual live. Like he has a video there of the live announcement at the party. If you're interested in some of this stuff. We got a shout out for D&D night for D&D Kasplat. I'll talk about that in a minute. Axel previewed the hardcore server. Nimnoin Orlet on Orion and Solana has a YouTube channel. You can check that out. Comment for the week. Tell us about your most favorite pirate adventure.
I really like the capstone of the Three Barrel
Precious
Cove in
Cargo.
Epics. Yeah, I think it's so cool and it's so interesting. It's definitely like the best pirate adventure there is, because you can either be strategic and take down ships, or be a pirate and just board them and take them down.
I would disagree with that, because that is possibly my second biggest letdown in the game. From like what they're talking about doing until what actually happened, because the airship combat is just so clunky and not really feasible. Most favorite pirate adventure? I don't know. Probably the time that I got a gibber. One of the times I got a gibbers blade. Does that count?
Oh, when I pulled the Gibbers blade when I already had one. That was a good time.
That
Got to give
doesn't
it away.
usually happen to me because I still have enough characters that don't have it. But I did, in a span of 14 runs once, I got 8 gibbers blades.
Whoa.
Yeah. It definitely bucked the averages there, but I've been paying for it in averages ever since. So, in fact, I recently soloed it, and someone joined me right at the end fight, and I waited for him to get in, and he got a gibbers blade and walked away with it.
Oh my gosh.
I know. He literally did nothing in the quest other than run from the door to the chest. He got a gibbers. See, the guild for the week, Heroes of Light and Darkness, aka Hold, is a no-pressure, drama-free, fun, friendly guild on Argonessen. Everyone in Hold helps each other out, whether you're looking for fast XP, acquiring new gear, wanting to raid, or stuck in a quest. It doesn't matter what your playstyle is, if you're level 1 or level 30, a new player or a seasoned player, as long as you're willing to have fun, Hold will embrace you. Let's see, fan site news. Brock and Friends, DDO players news, Bottle Gore, Bard Life, Damsel DDO, Brio Break, Gaming with Rain, DDOPL, Mickey's Delirium, and all had shows this week. You can also check out On the Edge of Evil. That was last week's D&D night on DDO stream. It's with Groovy from Alex and Lynn. Also, D&D night on DDO stream this weekend. If you're listening to this live, or if I get the show out before we do the show tomorrow, which might happen, probably not, but is D&D Kasplat. That's the group with me, the Damsels, No Bob from SSG, and some other folks. We are. They don't know this yet, but we're starting season 2. It's really just a demarcation of where they are in the storyline more than anything else. It's a good place as any. But this week should be a lot of fun. They're going on a brand new adventure. Well, they're starting their next part of their adventure. So it should be a lot of fun. You can check out D&D Night on DDO stream at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/DDO stream. It's a lot of fun. There's a bunch of different groups. We've been doing this for I think almost a year, having one every weekend. So it's pretty great. Occasionally we have to do like reruns or something. Schedules happen, life happens, and stuff like that. So there you go. All right, man. Anything else before we close this out? You want to plug your stream or anything?
Yeah. So if you are excited about them new hardcore server, a video is going to be going up today, August 10th. That's going to have a whole bunch of different builds to introduce you. There's, I think, 11 in the video. So if you need, if you're not sure or on the fence, it goes right through the whole thing, as well as going to be posted on the forums. And of course, I stream twitch.tv/Strimtom every single Monday from 6 to 9 p.m. And I will be live on the 16th, if that's when the patch goes live, to stream some hardcore. So if you don't watch me die and lose about $12 on stream, you're more than welcome to join me there.
I wouldn't worry too much about your video too, because with the Epic Destiny changes, because what percentage of characters do you think are actually going to get to level 20 where that's going to matter?
I was going to say, if you actually make it to level 20 on the hardcore server, you probably know what you're going to do for your destinies. So.
Probably. One would hope, but yeah.
It just would have been more fun to be like, oh,
sure.
For the monk build, you should use Grandmaster Flowers because it's actually good now. And Barbarian, you should actually use Fury of the Wild instead of, hey, every character in the game, you're either Legendary Dreadnought, Exalted Angel, and everyone has Meld into Darkness.
I mean, everyone's still going to have Meld into Darkness if they can.
That's not changing. That's not changing.
It's still, 95% is still, it's not as good as 100, but it's still pretty dang good. So,
still pretty good.
All right. Thanks, man, for joining me. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Apologies for a longer show. We hope you're excited about some of this stuff. Maybe we'll see you on the hardcore server. I'll be there a little bit. We'll see how much. I probably won't do it by myself. I'll probably do it with like a static group. Something like that.
Get some friends. It's a thing to do with friends.
That's really what I'm looking at it. It's probably not going to impact my normal playtime that much. It'll probably just be instead of playing other games with friends, we might play that instead. Anyways, thanks to all contributors from DDOCast and its Standing Stone Games and Wizards of the Coast and to Cyberears for hosting the podcast. You can support the show by visiting our website, DDOCast.com, or you can support us on Patreon. If you have a DDO-themed webpage or you Twitch DDO and you'd like to be featured on our website, you can email us at ddocast@gmail.com. And you can hit us up at ddocast.com for show notes, MP3s, our calendar, previous shows, and other fun stuff. If you'd like to be part of the show, if you have a comment on this episode, a question you'd like to hear us answer, or a topic you'd like to hear us discuss, or you just want to say hi, you can leave a comment or you can email us at ddocast@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media and for our latest cast updates. I'm at DDOcast on Twitter. You want to give a shout out for your Twitter?
Yeah, I'm Strimtom everywhere. So Strimtom on Twitter, Strimtom on Facebook, Strimtom on YouTube, Strimtom on Twitch. Just look me up. You can find me there. And once again, thanks so much for having me on the show.
Yeah,
it's always a fun time, and I'm glad I got to be here this time.
Hey, you got one of the juiciest news segments we've had in a long while. I mean, hardcore league is going to change everything, at least in the hardcore league, right? So,
or maybe it'll change nothing. We'll find out.
Well, on the server, it's a completely different meta, right? So,
oh yeah,
which I'm learning that Severlin really likes to change the meta. Like every interview, he mentions that as a goal.
Yeah.
So
First Lifers unite.
Yeah. Here we go. Good luck on the hardcore server, guys. Thanks for listening. Welcome back. We are talking today about Update 43, our preview. We're going to continue kind of diving into that. This one should be a lot of fun. We talk about XP changes specifically. With me this week, we have Propane.
Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well today.
As well as Voodu.
Hey, everyone.
Last time we talked about the release notes and Epic Destiny changes and kind of briefly the Pale Master stuff. Did want to mention one of the things that was not in the Epic Destiny changes that they had said would be in there and then apparently backtracked on. The low-level tier ability for Grandmaster currently goes up if you're centered on stuff, it does more damage. They talked about if you're centered, increasing it to keep that progression, but it appears that that was not a change that went through. Boo. So wanted to make sure I mentioned that. With that in mind, shall we jump into the XP changes? Because this is pretty much gonna be the whole topic. Because these are big changes. So to start off, we'll just read kind of through a lot of the points. So they've been analyzing their data on quests, completion times, and completion numbers, and they've put together some changes they feel will improve players' game experience throughout their leveling adventures. We realize that experience points and how players earn them can greatly affect a player's game experience, so we wanted players to understand the changes. I want to stop right there with that first paragraph, because I think it's important to note that this is not, like, they're doing these changes based off of not just what people are saying, but they're doing it based on data of quests, what quests are being run, how many times they're being completed, and what those completion times are. I think that's really important, because this is not coming out of the void. It also somewhat explains some of the choices they made with some quests, which we'll get into later, and how they're having their XP adjusted. Because some of those at first glance for me, it's like you're increasing the XP in these quests, but like I can run those really fast. Apparently, some people's completion times are not so quick. And feel free to jump in at any time here, guys, too. So, all right, here are the goals with these changes. The rate of leveling overall should not drop for an average player who is playing a lot of different quests. Players should be rewarded for playing a wide variety of quests instead of repeating quests over and over. Players should not be punished for breaking their regular play pattern to join a group or help out friends and guild mates. And they wanted to close some loopholes for optional objectives. I feel like those are all good changes, good goals.
Yeah, so
right?
far so good.
Yeah. As a result of these changes, we hope that more dungeons are viable for normal experience gains, and that playing through a wide variety of dungeons is more appealing, and playing dungeons over and over is less appealing. If you are playing the quest the first time in Heroic, you should get the same experience points as before. In Epic, you will have an additional 5% bonus. Yay! More XP. That's good, right?
So far so good.
I already play. I hate repeating quests. I do a variety of quests, so I love it.
Yeah.
I love this.
And, I think there is definitely something to be said that if players are repeating the same few quests over and over again, it's going to feel more grindy and less fun, right? Like, and having said that, especially when you have a game that has, 150 some odd past lives, people are going to look for optimization. So, okay, so 1, we're going to make some XP changes to specific quests to bring them into line with their completion time and difficulty. Again, that's based off of their data, the completion time and the difficulty. 4 quests will have their XP lowered, while mini quests will have their XP raised. The exact list has been added to the bottom of the post. Let's look at that now, briefly. So the ones that are being lowered, Grim and Barret will have its XP lowered by 10%. Jungle of Kyber Heroic Only will be reduced by 10%. And then Spies and Litany of the Dead will have their XP lowered by 10%. Those are the quests that are being lowered.
10%'s not a big deal.
It's not too bad. Although Jungle of Kyber and Spies specifically will have some more things impacting them, we'll talk about in a minute. There are quests that will have major increases, which they're defining as 10 to 20% to their XP. I'm not going to read the whole list. Well, actually, I can read the whole. This one's really short. Temple of Elemental Evil, both sides. Precious Cargo. Everything from the Mines of Tethymar, and Black and Blue and Newcomers. So those are looking at major increases to their XP.
I think that's good. The mine quests, they take it, especially being somewhat new, they take a long time. You don't get that much XP.
I don't
So
actually really
20%.
agree with that.
You don't?
Third
Do you not
time's
smell
a
the
charm.
flowers every time?
Third time's a charm takes a long time. The other ones I don't think take that long. Strike back if you get caught in the weeds and are doing if you optimize strike back, you can get to the end of that pretty quick. So
Yeah, I said the first time or two, I didn't think it was worth the time. Never optimized them.
Now, I do want to take a quick moment to point out what they're saying is here. They're not changing the quote quest duration. So Reaper XP should not change here based on these changes. Although there are changes to Reaper XP that we will talk about next week. But these are all getting more XP for those kinds of things. So I think that's all good. Those are all, other than the Mines of Tethymar ones that are like Records of the Past, Strike Back, and Graveyard Shift are all pretty quick. So major increases there, I don't know. That may not be necessary, but
I'd like to see a histogram. They said they have the data just to see, okay, these quests are ran, 1,000 times in a week, and these quests are ran 4 times in a week, or whatever that is.
Sure. I'm sure players would go nuts over those numbers, right? Which is probably why they'll never give them to us.
Yeah.
Quests that will receive minor increases, which is saying 5 to 10% to their XP. Everything in the Carnival chain, the High Road chain, Slave Lords, Tower of Frost, which I've seen some people say, like Tower of Frost. Should that not be in the the major increase? So
Probably. I've literally only run that quest like 5 times.
I think I've only run it twice. Creeping Death and To Curse the Sky. With an additional note, for Creeping Death, monster stats will be fixed to be easier, and Curse the Sky statting will be examined and maybe made easier. So a little bit more XP, but they're also going to looking at making them easier. Against the Demon Queen, Chains of Flame, Dreaming Dark. Let's see, that is Chain 2, Chain 1 of the Menace of the Underdark chains, plus Don't Drink the Water, Belly of the Beast, and Riddle.
Basically the saga.
Yeah. Not Chain 3, but those ones. That feels about right, actually. Made to order Curse Crypt, and they also want to move the failure condition to optional if they have time. Please. Yes, please. Memory Lapse and Price of Freedom. There's that so many of the newer quests are on this list. The Reaver's Refuge quest, the Turn the Tide
I was surprised
quest.
to see Reaper's Refuge because those are already really good XP, but I'm happy about that.
Right?
I run those every life. I love those quests. Well, I don't run Stealer of Souls,
Yeah.
but I always
that's
do
terrible.
Monastery and Pray.
I would say that, again, they're looking at their data, and those quests are really good, but they also have a high level of difficulty, I think.
They are.
For their level range, I think Enter the Kobold is probably the hardest end fight.
Yen fight, yeah, is
in
nasty.
that range. It can be,
Those
if you're not ready for it,
those,
it'll.
those quests are kind of out of the way. It's a kind of
true.
a pain to get there, and you get there,
Yeah.
and you gotta navigate around the loading zone to get to the explorer area to get to the quest, and then get to back home. It's just easier to go to the Evening Star and back.
It's one of my favorite packs. Stands
Yeah.
up well in terms of difficulty, even though it's such an old pack.
It's true. It
True.
does. Let's see. The Archon's Trials chain, Haunted Halls, the Wayloon chain, but only on Epic, which apparently includes Shadow of the Doubt, which doesn't have an Epic version. Oops. The Stormhorn's chain is going up, although what goes up feels like it's a lot. I don't know about what goes up. That one doesn't feel like it needs an XP boost.
Yeah, that surprised me.
Although I guess if you get stuck in the at the end, maybe. The Red Fens, and then the Acute Delirium, Terminal Delirium, Fashion Madness, Lord of Eyes, and Palace of Stone, which I think is 2 complete sets, but I feel like there's a quest missing out of one of them, and I'm not sure which one it is at the top of my head. But those ones are also increasing. Again, those ones feel pretty reasonable to increase. Especially some of those, Acute Delirium especially, you can get stuck in there for ages if you're having a rough time. So that's what they're changing for quests. If you're looking at this on Lomania, not all specific dungeon XP adjustments were implemented, and not all of the values are final. They might kind of change some of those. Bravery streaks. This is the second point. Bravery streak for both hard and elite will change to hard dungeons completed and elite dungeons completed. Bravery streaks will no longer end. They won't have a chance for ending. You won't need to turn off your streak, or worse, mess your streak up by forgetting, or I would also say forget to turn it back on. And you can freely play at any difficulty without the count resetting. That sounds great to me so far.
Hell yeah.
I know there's some people that maybe like the streaky aspect of it, but I feel like those people are like, they like their numbers, and what I hear from them more often than anything else is, "Damn it, I forgot to turn off my bravery streak. There goes there goes my 1700 streak."
Once they, gave us the ability to pause our streak, it really just became trivial.
Yeah.
And tedious.
And the bravery streak is great, but like the impact on playing is kind of a pain in the ass, right? Like you don't want to run certain quests because you won't get your streak bonus. You don't want to have to deal with going and turning it on or off. You forget to turn it on or off. I mean, those all have impacts, right?
It's one less question to think about before helping a guildmate or pugging.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to have another obstacle to doing that removed.
Yeah, and like every time we run, some of the harder raids, like Too Hot to Handle, we just run it on normal, or Killing Time, we just run it on hard. So it's always, we always say at the start, we're doing this on normal. Pause your bravery bonuses. Like every time, we won't have to say that anymore.
Yep. Bravery streak bonus will be moved into the standard bravery bonus at its full value. They will still track how many times you finish hard and elite dungeons in the UI, but you're no longer required to play 5 dungeons in a row at a specific difficulty to build a streak. Great. Bravery bonus will be based on the base XP for the dungeon as if you were on elite, even if you are playing on hard. Right now, the bravery streak is, at full bonus, 70% of the base XP on elite. They're increasing that bonus to 100%, so players will get more XP for the first time they play each quest. Yay, more XP. Are you lost yet? This is getting confusing, right? To clarify, playing a quest on Elite or Reaper will give the full 100% bonus. Playing a quest on Hard gives 50% of the Bravery bonus XP, but you can reclaim the rest of the Bravery XP if you play it later on Elite. So the most efficient way to get the Bravery bonus XP is to play an Elite. But if you help a friend on Hard, you can still get the rest of the difference on Elite or Reaper later. Yes, it is less efficient, but you don't, quote, lose the bonus.
I like that. That makes some sense. So you don't have to think about, did I do it on what before? Because you can run it again and get it at the higher difficulty.
Yeah. The thing they're trying to take out of this equation is you don't have to worry about managing a streak. You don't have to worry about, if you run something on hard, you don't lose the bonus you would get later on Elite. So there's They're taking all of the stuff you could, quote, lose or have to manage out of Bravery Streak. And they're even increasing the bonus by 30%. So that's great. More incentive to run stuff, more different stuff, right? To clarify how the new totals work, as previously, when you complete a hard dungeon, your hard dungeon's completed total will increase. When you complete an elite or Reaper dungeon, your hard and elite totals will be increased. Do we still need that number, though?
I know. I was thinking, like, why bother?
Because some people really like that number.
Numbers.
Yeah, they really like their number. Although, yeah, I never paid too much attention to it, but this definitely seems better, right? So there you go. Bravery Streak. Major changes there, right? You don't have to manage it. You don't lose anything for running a quest on a different difficulty beforehand, right? So it should, if you run it on normal, right, you should not lose that Bravery Streak either. So, yay. That's a lot of good stuff there. I would think this would also help with pugs and newer players too, right? Like if they want to run something on normal, someone could just, okay, fine, I'll go run that real quick on normal. It's not gonna I'm not gonna lose XP later, kind of a thing. So
Yeah, it's no hassle. Again, it's not something a
Mhm.
player needs to manage or worry about. You just hop in and do it.
Yep.
So 2 points bonus. I like it.
Increase the daily bonus. This is the third thing. To further encourage the diversity of dungeons, the daily bonus will be increased from 20% to 25% for heroic dungeons and 30% for epic dungeons.
Yay.
Yeah. Nothing.
I like it.
Number 4. Move some of the XP from first-time bonuses, which is per difficulty, to the bravery bonus. So it is not their goal to increase outgoing XP. Dope. To pay for the above increases, they plan on lowering first-time bonuses per difficulty. These numbers are significant. Normal is going from 25% to 10%. Hard from 40 to 20. Elite is going from 80 to 45. And Reaper is going from 120 to 75%. What does this mean? On normal, hard, and elite, the first time through a heroic dungeon, including the daily bonuses, will be the same as it is on live. The first time through epic dungeons will actually give slightly more XP. This makes the practice of repeating dungeons on each difficulty less attractive than finding a new dungeon. And there it is. That's what they're trying to really dial in on, right?
Yeah, before you try to run something on hard and elite and Reaper to get that first time bonus each time. Now that's not going to be near as attractive or effective.
Right. Although, if you were to do that, I would say don't do it all on the same day, at least.
Don't do it back to back to back.
Yeah,
days,
at least then
but-
you would get your daily bonus back the next day, right? Although that daily, it may be just me, but that daily bonus, whenever I'm paying attention to it, it always seems like it's kind of iffy. Like sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. But
How's
anyways,
it daily? Is it on the 18-hour DDO day versus
not
the
sure.
real life 24-hour day?
I'm not sure, but there's some quests that like I've never run before, and I don't see the daily bonus on there sometimes. So
Because I think like raid timers used to be 18 hours, or I guess are 18 hours, so that you could play the same real time.
it's 2 days
3
plus
days later.
18 hours, but
Yeah.
Optional objectives will ransack, and that ransack will not reset over time. They're essentially being changed to a play-through bonus with ransack that only resets with a racial, true, and iconic reincarnations. To compensate, optional objectives will ransack more slowly. With this change, they can add more or make more of them have greater rewards. Note, the reduced rate at which optional objectives ransack has not yet been changed on the test server. The optional XP will ransack down to 20% and never for that particular life recover. That's a big change too, because that's going to really impact quests like Bond 3 and Spies in the House, and Wizard King, right? Like some of the reasons why those quests are really popular is because of that optional XP. So that's going to really impact those as daily runs. I mean, daily runs are taking a pretty solid hit just in general here.
Even if you go from 30 to 20, it doesn't reset.
Nope. You have to do a racial true or iconic reincarnation. You have to rebuild your character.
Yeah.
And that's something that actually I think we could probably just talk about that right now. Like I think that's the biggest thing that I'm hearing from people is how this impacts just doing epic lives. This really only more incentivizes doing those other reincarnations, right? To have to reset your first time quest bonuses and Slayer XP bonuses. And I hear that, and I don't disagree with it either. You guys had some thoughts on that?
Epics do get pretty grindy after about the third epic reincarnation or fourth.
And so the daily bonus is going to be a little bit bigger, but you're going to lose the ransack optional over time, so you're not getting any of that on your third or fourth epic life.
You're gonna lose the optional XP. There's less XP in the first time bonuses, for the different difficulty levels. So you get it more at once, but if you go back in later, you're not gonna get as much XP on different difficulties.
And when I read this, I thought when you would do epic TR going from 30 to 20, it'd reset it.
Nope.
Boy, if that doesn't, that makes those epic lives a lot tougher, I would think.
Yeah, it's definitely going to. The dailies are going to take a hit. People will find new dailies, I think.
Yeah, there'll be a new pattern. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, but I think that's the place I think that people are going to find a negative impact. Is
even if it ramsack down to 50%, but 20, oof, pretty harsh.
Yeah, that's kind of where all the XP ransacks down to. It's just normally it comes back over a couple of days, right? So I think that's the playing experience that's going to be negatively impacted. Is I don't want to run heroics, I don't want to do a true reincarnation, but I want to get a couple epic lives. That's going to be harder to do.
Yeah, even if they would put it on a weekly or whatever the ramsack regeneration is normally, at least you could get it as you leveled up. You wouldn't run the same quest 4 or 5 times in a week, but assuming it takes you 2 or 3 weeks to go from 20 to 30, it'd be there again as you leveled up.
The flip side of this, though, too, is that they are saying by changing how optional XP ransacks, that they can add more or make more of them have greater rewards. So they're currently considering that as a problem, right?
Yeah.
So they're not giving a lot of optional XP as reward. That's one of the reasons why Spies and Wizard King are really popular daily runs, is because of how much optional XP is in there. So,
yeah, I can see that point. I mean, those 4 quests get ran a ridiculous number of times.
Yep. See, the other part of this, this is kind of more to do with Reaper, and we'll probably talk about it when we talk about Reaper next week as well. But the over and under level bonuses for Reaper will be changed to be the same as Elite. This will reduce confusion and provide a wider grouping level. The hard stop to entering Reaper and Epic will remain as it is alive, but Heroic, this will prevent characters from entering Reaper dungeons in the Heroic levels if they are more than 4 levels above the base challenge rating of the quest.
I wonder if that'll fix. There's some of the Dream and Dark quests that are just on the edge that you can't really run Reaper as you level up because they're
the idea that you can run a heroic quests on Reaper as an epic character is not changing.
Okay.
The thing that is changing here is, to my understanding, is so currently if you run a quest on Reaper at the same, so if a quest is normally level 14, on Elite it will be level 16. And Reaper puts it at a level 16 quest. If you run that quest as level 16, you're taking a Reaper penalty to your XP.
Yeah, 2 levels over.
Right.
Yep.
My understanding based on this is that they are changing that. So now if you are level 16 running a level 14 quest on Reaper, you will not take a Reaper penalty.
Correct.
Which I think is great because it makes it less confusing,
Yes.
right? That's what people are kind of used to. It opens up more grouping options. It also, and we'll get into this more next week, it kind of mitigates some of the changes that are making to Reaper that are going to make Reaper more difficult.
So far you could get the same Reaper XP running a quest at level instead of 2 under.
Yep.
Depends how you want to reference it, but yeah.
The community never adjusted to that Reaper base normal level thing. Most
Hey.
of the community, I mean.
Yeah. Some people did.
Oh yeah, I did. I did right away. But from what I see in LFMs, and
Yeah.
a lot of people just either don't understand it or they just never made the adjustment.
I'm in the boat of I understand it, and most of the time I just didn't care. If I'm running something on Reaper 1 and I'm really just trying to get from one level to the next, I was always over. I was still just kind of ignoring that and going with the bravery rules. So
I mean, part of it, Reaper 1, you got the extra 20% or whatever XP, and you got your spell points.
yeah, it is worth pointing out, and I didn't think about this until now, right? Like, if you're running a quest over level of that bravery bonus, your XP is going to be less because they're moving a lot of that first time completion into the bravery bonus, right? So if you're above the bravery bonus level, you're going to get less XP for running quests on the first time if you haven't run it before, assuming. So that's something to consider too. So as you're looking for new quests, you may want to consider keeping those quests within that level range, that bravery level range, right?
Well, that's interesting because on epics, sometimes you wouldn't care if you're over leveled because A, it's epics, and B, you got your first time bonus anyway.
Uh-huh. And there's
So
no
now
there's
you're
no
not
level
gonna
there's no over level penalty in epics. But because consider for Reaper difficulty, they're moving, what is that? 45% of the XP for first time bonus is gone. It's been moved into the bravery bonus. Right? So if you're now over that bravery bonus level, your XP is being reduced by 45%. So that's going to be a shift too, in terms of leveling and stuff like that. So I would say that I feel like you could probably do 3 or 4 epic lives before you start running into problems about finding new quests to run, if you're utilizing Slayers and the challenges.
Yeah, that's about right.
But I think that is going to be a pain point, I think, for a lot of people that, including myself to a certain extent, like don't really want to do a bunch of past lives or looking to do like a whole bunch of heroic past lives, and in conjunction with them, they just want to run the epic past lives. So
if they would change it so it reset when you go from 20 to 30 or from 30 to 20, I'd be much happier with this change because right now I'm thinking, oh my guys, I'm just running epic loops on. That's going to make it harder and harder. You almost have to do a heroic loop now.
The problem there is that I think that also would, I don't know if they can do that and disassociate that from your favor. I think you might have some problems with favor in that regard.
That's where the idea of going to a week, 1 week reset on the ransack. If you put a very long time in that, I think that would kind of go in the middle of that, where you're going to prevent someone from running Vaughn 3 every night for every night in a week, but you still get it per life, or even if you did it once a week for the optionals, that's still a far cry from what it is today.
The other thing that's been suggested a lot is just give us a store item that, sure, if it wipes favor, fine, but that resets Slayer and quest completions. I think that would be pretty popular for a lot of those reasons that we've kind of discussed. I'm not sure how technically feasible it is, but I think if people knew that going into it that you can use this, it will also clear your favor, but you can use this, it would be okay.
Yeah. The thing with clearing your favor, you got to reflag for all your raids and stuff. That is one of the nice thing about epics.
Also be a possibility. Like it might also do that too, right? Like it clears all of your quest completions. You may have to reflag for raids and stuff like that.
At that point, just buy a heroic stone and TR up to 18 and a half and start over.
Yeah, I mean that may be why they don't really do it. Is like at that point, is it something that people would necessarily buy? I don't know.
I can see if they put a ransack in here like they're talking about, but if they put a week timer on it, or even a 2-week timer, but this forever and ever and ever while you're in epics, that bites.
But that doesn't. I mean, this is sort of true today, anyways, right? Like a lot of the XP for first time bonus is still today in first time bonuses, and even if you make all these other changes and put more of that XP into first time and bravery bonuses, or into that bravery bonus idea, that you're going to lose some leverage there, especially if you're not someone who's running it on bravery, right? Like if you're just running stuff without bravery bonuses, this actually kind of feels like it's gonna pigeonhole people more into running bravery, those bravery levels, just because you're moving that first time bonus into the bravery bonus, right? So you're actually putting more incentive to run to get those bravery bonuses than not. So, anything else you guys want to say before we close it out for the week?
I just think the in epics, trying to do Reaper quests in epics is going to be huge because you can elite streak an epic quest 4 over the base normal level.
Yep.
Whereas opposed to in heroics it's 2. And right now, trying to do Reaper quests for maximum XP in epics it's crazy because it's 4 levels lower than what we were used to doing it, and 4 levels is giant in terms of like what feats you have and what gear you have. So like trying to get Reaper XP right now in epics is just like, to me, a giant waste of time. So I hope that this makes stepping up the Reaper level in epics a thing,
Yeah, maybe.
or at least more viable, because right now
Sure.
it's just not worth the effort.
At least until you get to the level 30 stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was kind of stuck on this idea because in heroic it's 2 levels higher, and epic it's 4 levels higher.
Yeah, that's really big.
That's a lot of difference in, like you're saying, in gear and
think about
gear
giant
mostly.
hold. If you want to do giant hold for maximum Reaper XP, you got to do it at 24. But if you're just elite streaking, it's 28. The difference between 24 and 28 is giant.
Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind is you get Mass Frog at 28. So, yeah, I think this is gonna change the map, right? Like, there's gonna be some places that are gonna be more of a pain point, but there's also gonna be some places that are gonna be more enjoyable as an experience.
There's going to be a new bunch of dailies come through. People to figure out here's the quests that have the best space reward and are the quickest to run. And with the daily bonus, it's just going to be another 4 to 5 different quests that are going to become the new dailies.
Yeah, definitely. I think that'll happen. And there's plenty of options for those. I think people are just kind of used to running those ones specifically, but there will be a different kind of direction. There's some quests on dailies that aren't even being touched, and like Grim and Barrett, most of its XP is I don't really think of it as having optional XP as a thing to really be wanting. So that can kind of change stuff, and there's plenty of quests that you can blitz through on quickly, anyways. So
I'm really looking forward to just seeing how it feels in terms of like heroic leveling, because right now, like, we do mid-skull heroic and we do it at base normal level, and now we're going to be able to do it 2 levels higher. I feel like we're just going to smoke this stuff.
I think you're right. If that was your experience, you'd be a little bit more powerful for sure.
My feeling this is going to make heroics actually easier and epics harder.
No, epics will be easier
if
too.
you can run stuff on Reaper for bonuses of for Reaper XP in 4 levels higher in epic, I mean that's 4 more level ranges of people to find for one thing.
Oh, you're talking about not actually difficulty. You're talking about harder in terms of like grinding out an epic past life.
Grinding out past lives.
Yeah. Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, that's where I got so many alts. I only got one guy that's got epic completionist. I'm just starting on 2 others. I'm like, this is just gonna make it harder and longer.
I mean, I think the obvious easy answer, right, is to say, well, here's an item that costs less than a stone. Even if it costs what 500, 1,000 points, to do that. Actually, I'd say even 500 points, right? Because it's a huge time investment to if it's gonna wipe your favor and your if it wipes your favor and your raid flags and stuff like that. I mean,
Even if they just came out with an item that just resets Slayers,
yeah,
Yeah, we
that
talked about that.
alone would be huge.
yeah. There's a lot of XP that you can leverage in Slayers. And I haven't seen many groups doing it yet, but I mean, Cog Slayers is going to be a place that you can get some Slayers in as well. So, yeah. Well, there you go. XP changes. There's some big changes on the map. The end result, I think, the big takeaways for me is if you're running Reaper, it's going to be easier to find more people to run Reaper with, and you'll be a little bit more powerful relative to the quest level. Doesn't mean it's going to be easier. We'll talk about that next week. Get into that a little bit more next week. But they're increasing that there, and if you're just running from 1 to 30 and starting over, 1 to 30 and starting over, it should be easier for you. And hey, if nothing else, taking away the managing of the bravery streak and the limitations that imposes on you playing and stuff like that, that's a big win, I think, for me. So
Yeah, amen. I agree with that.
So there you go. So that'll finish this up for this week. Next week we'll continue talking about update 43 preview. We'll talk about the changes to Reaper, which again are going to change the map when it comes to Reaper. Should be a lot of fun. If you'd like to support the show, you can visit our website, DDOCast.com, or you can support us on our Patreon. You can also find show notes, past shows, and more on our website. You can also find us on social media and follow us for the latest cast updates. I'm at DDOCast on Twitter. If you'd like to join the discussion, you can leave a comment or email us, DDOCast@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, all your attack rolls be crits, all your chest level appropriate, have fun, and don't forget to gather for buffs.